Yeah, most sports talking heads make predictions, then hope you forget about how wrong they were. But not Mackie and Judd.
Write this down.
This is the big leagues, where we own our terrible predictions.
Write that down.
And keep track of each other's batting averages. It's Write That Down.
Write it down. You like writing things down.
With Mackie and Judd.
That's right. The only show in America that actually keeps track of our predictions with statistics. The only show with grapefruits large enough to do something that stupid. Where people can see just how wrong we are on a regular basis here. It is Write That Down. 3 predictions from everybody each week. They must be quantifiable. We keep track of batting averages and home runs. And listeners, if you want to participate like Brandon is about to, you can send us a message through the SKOR North app. We'll get you scheduled for sometime in the next few weeks or the next couple months or so. And I want to give you guys, Judd and Declan, and the audience a warning here. And it's going to happen here in just a couple minutes. We're going to get right into the accountability session. One of the worst bad beats in Write That Down history came off the board this week.
You haven't said that for, I would say, 4 years, 5. I want to say it was the radio show.
I think we had one like a year or two ago.
Oh, I just remember a terrible beat in studio back in the might have been 1500 ESPN, which, by the way, cultivated a lot of talent.
It did cultivate a lot of talent. Yeah, Tom Pelissero, Jamie Erdahl, Zach Harper, Judd Zolgad.
I mean, look at us.
All sorts of people. Yeah, Declan, you look pained.
Do you know?
I know what it is.
Oh no!
Oh no! I was hoping it was me.
Oh, I'm kind of surprised.
I think
Actually, it was before your tweet even sent off the thing that I realized what it was. I thought I was putting it together, and I thought, oh wait, and I went back. I even listened. Yeah, we'll wait.
We'll get to it.
Let's wait.
All right. So
okay.
it is Declan. It is Declan. I won't even try and.
Don't spoil anymore.
Sugarcoat it. And it's really, really tough. It's going to be a tough scene here in just a couple minutes. But we'll start with Judd. So you said a couple bad things, a couple good things here. Overall, a good week for Judd. You said the Wild would obtain, I have no idea how to pronounce this dude's name, Andreas
Athanasiou.
Sounds good.
Chicago Blackhawks. Didn't happen. Remember the prediction.
Yep. You said the Wild would make a trade for a goaltender mid-season that would play for the Wild at some point this season.
That was after the terrible start. It was a very premature goal-elation prediction.
Little did you know that the Gus Bus would fire up about a week after your prediction.
Gus Bus is incredible.
Driving over everyone. All right, on the good side, you said the Wild would acquire at least one more NHL player by the NHL trade deadline. They actually made, I think it was 2 trades on deadline day, so you got this one twice over. Good job. And you correctly said the Gopher men's basketball game would not win 5 games in conference this season. They won 2.
Room to spare. I should have gotten 3.
Sort of close to a home run, but we knew they were going to be really, really bad. So
yeah, I won't try and
it's a good knock though for you.
It's a nice hit, but that's all it is.
Nothing off the board here for old Macadac.
Yes, so now we can see it.
All right, listeners.
Yes.
Royce said Minnesota would beat Wisconsin at Williams Arena. If he could just make a free throw, maybe.
He was pissed off on Unchained about this.
The Gophers, so there's like 355 Division I college basketball teams. The Gophers are dead last in free throw percentage. Yeah. 61% as a team from the free throw line. As a team.
Next year will be it for Ben Johnson, unfortunately.
It's tough, yeah. I mean, on one hand, like, yeah, it's okay. You're building something, but are you? Are you building something?
Therein lies the question.
AJ said the Wild would trade within the division prior to the trade deadline. I don't think any of those 3 trades were.
No.
Anaheim, Buffalo.
Columbus, Buffalo.
No.
Oscar Sundquist was from Detroit. Yes.
Okay.
So no, you're right. That is red.
Jamie said AEW Revolution, the big pay-per-view from last weekend, would have 3 title changes and Jade Cargill would lose the TBS title. I don't even think she wrestled, right? What happened there?
She did not. There were 2 title changes, though. The Trios and the TNT title, I believe, changed hands. I think the TNT one.
What's the TBS title?
It's like the TNT title. It's just
okay.
Yeah,
So it's named
just
after the. Okay,
that is correct.
It's the TV. The TV title.
But I that might sound stupid if I said that. I was wrong.
And this, for specificity, this is a big knock here from Matt. This is a home run. He said the Wild would acquire one of these 5 players by the trade deadline, and he included John Klingberg.
That's good. Yeah.
On his list. That's pretty good, man.
Not bad.
He had Howla on the list. Howla, Nino,
Was it going to be 2013? Over to
Granlund. All right, and it's going to be the first thing here. This is one of the worst beats in the history of Write That Down. So Declan, who actually celebrated this on Twitter as well, and I thought I didn't know anything different, but when you go back and look at the predictions, so Declan said the Twins media guide would feature all 5 uniforms on the cover. And I just want, for the YouTube audience, I did bring visuals here for you to see. Yeah. So Declan again said the Twins media guide will feature all 5 uniforms on the cover.
Yeah.
And lower left, you can see all 5 of the uniforms that were modeled on the day that the Twins. You've got Luis Arraez, you got Jorge Polanco, Joe Ryan, Buxton, you got Miranda. They're all 5 different uniforms.
I see it.
On the media guide, the Twins have 4 uniforms displayed. 4 uniforms. They're missing the gray pinstripe pants with the blue top on the media guide. Therefore, because only 4 uniforms were featured on the media guide, Declan's prediction of all 5 uniforms being featured on the cover is incorrect.
Oh, if you only hadn't said 5. If you had only just been vague and said all the uniforms.
Or just say the uniforms. The new uniforms would be featured on the
I didn't cover. Even notice the distinction of the photo on the left.
Yeah, join
with
the club.
Gray
That's
pants.
What happened to me. Yeah, that's exactly what happened.
But I mean, I didn't make the prediction either. So,
ordinarily this would have maybe even snuck under the radar. But when you said,
"Oh my God,"
I actually went back. I went back and looked at your tweet because I was just kind of curious. I don't even know why I did it because I remember you hitting the ding button on Twitter, and I just decided I'm going to go and look because I want to see what the media guide looks like. So I just went and found your tweet for fun. And then I put 2 and 2 together and was like, wait a second. He said 5 uniforms. There's only 4 on this cover. What happened? So, Dex, I don't want to pile on you. I feel bad. This is just...
No, I shot myself in the foot. That's... And I went back and listened to, I said 5. Not that it wouldn't have mattered because I wrote down 5
You
in the
went
spreadsheet.
back and listened.
But I went back and listened, and this is the worst. This is the absolute worst. Because would this have been a home run? Because
yes,
it's pretty specific.
I had initially, when I was doing the accountability session, I initially had it on the books as a home run before I stumbled into your tweet. Yeah.
Do you know what this is? A Bramer-gasm. We all thought, there's a deep drive to left field. That ball is high. That ball
in front
is
of the wall
deep.
by Aaron Judge.
That ball is caught on the warning track.
He stopped doing that a couple years ago, though, didn't he? He kind of, I think he heard about it on Twitter.
He still can get excited at times, though. And then it's like, oh, it's not home run.
The Bramer-gasm. Ooh. All right. You did say, you made up for it a little bit here. You said the Wild would trade Greenway by the deadline, which did happen. And then this is a home run. You said Gustavsson, the Gus Bus, would post a shutout sometime in the last couple of weeks, considering he's basically going every other start with Ziflower. And he only had 1 shutout, I think, going in. I think this is a Joe Mauer first row and left field home run for Declan here.
2 back-to-back shutouts for the Gus Bus.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because the shootout doesn't count. That counts as still as a shutout last night, even though it was 0-0 going into the overtime.
No, clean sheet.
So with that, Judd and Declan are tied at 571. I still have not updated the year on this sheet. I promised to at some point, even though we are halfway through March. It still says 2022. And then listeners and I are tied at 167. Everyone has 1 home run except me. Career, Declan leads with a 389 career batting average. Judd leads with 266 career hits, and the listeners lead with 43 career home runs. So we're gonna dust ourselves off here.
Tough beat.
The shock of Declan's bad beat ringing throughout. Write that down here.
Yes, thanks.
Let's get guest listener predictor Brandon from some sort of snow removal machinery up near Canada, we think.
Not quite, but close.
So is this your first time on Write That Down?
Yep.
Awesome, man. Do you have a strategy? Are you going to be swinging for the fences? You going for bunt singles? What's your game plan here?
Well, just first 2 will probably be a couple swings. And then the last one might be a little less of a swing.
Okay. When did you first become a Minnesota sports fan?
Since I was born. I remember we had a family member that used to be on the training staff for the Vikings, so we'd go to training every year. And then the one year I had a Randy Moss jersey on because I thought.
I think we're losing
Him, and I didn't see him, so not knowing much as a little kid, he must have went to a different exit or something. So he didn't come where all the rest of the players went through. So not knowing anything as a little kid, I asked a rookie Dante Culpepper to sign my Randy Moss jersey.
Nice, dude. That's awesome.
And the look he gave me, like, are you? He even asked my dad, who was standing behind me. He's like, "Are you sure you want me to sign that?" He said, "That's a Randy Moss jersey," and he did sign it, but it was actually when he was number 12. So when you see it, it actually is number 12 Dante Culpepper, and it was before he changed his number to 11.
I love it, man. That's I think those guys belong. I think the ink belongs from Dante Culpepper. Those guys were intertwined for so many years. So all right, so we're gonna start with Brandon. We're gonna go Judd, Declan, back to me. 3 trips around the room. Brandon, what is your first prediction, sir?
Write this down.
My first prediction is write that down. The Minnesota Wild and the Minnesota Timberwolves will get past the first round of the playoffs this year.
Okay.
So I'm not so sure after last night's Sixers game, huh?
Well,
Yeah,
we've seen the Wolves have done this all year. It's just who they are. But they're going to wind up potentially playing the Kings or the Grizzlies. The Grizzlies may not have John Morant. They don't have Brandon Clark. So whoever they play, if they can just get there, they do have a chance to win a 7-game series.
You want me to go?
Yes.
Write this down. Joey Gallo
Write this down.
will hit the Twins' first home run of the regular season. Joey Gallo will hit the Twins' first home run of the regular season.
Oh, Declan just, yes, go.
Yes. I didn't know if you had something else to say.
Well, I always have something to say. I mean,
I thought you might have still been going. I was fine with it. Dex's impatience has become one of my favorite things to prey on because it's so easy.
Everyone else in the world.
It's so easy to get Declan to break.
My fiance, my siblings, my parents, yes, everyone. They know my impatience.
down,
runs
you
very
like
You're
it.
Royce-like in your
It
impatience.
is. I've learned from the best. My first prediction, I'll make a hockey one here first. They're in line to do this, but it's certainly not a given. But the Wild will host a first-round playoff series this year. So right now, Colorado does have a couple games in hand behind them. I would say it's probably what, Judd? A 50-50 bet this happens at this point. It's definitely not a sure thing by any means.
Right.
But I think the Wild will host a first-round playoff series this season. Write it down.
All right.
you want me to go?
Phil?
So I'm
Go
gonna try and
ahead.
push Declan's buttons here. All right. I'm feeling some wild fever. I'm feeling some wild fever here. This is probably the 6th time I've made this prediction in the history of this show. And I'm gonna shoot my shot again here. The Minnesota Wild will reach the Western Conference Finals. This will be the first trip to the Western Conference Finals in 20 years. The Minnesota Wild will reach the Western Conference Finals. Hop on the Gus bus, Kirill Kaprizov, some savvy veterans sprinkled in throughout the Bill Guerin master plan at the trade deadline. I'm drinking some wild
Write it
Kool-Aid here,
down.
boys.
You like writing things down?
Let's make it happen. All right, Brandon, what's your second prediction?
All right, this one will be a little bit longer. So write that down. The Minnesota Vikings will trade up with Atlanta in the draft to pick one of the top 4 quarterbacks.
Wow.
And the reason I picked Atlanta was because at the combine, their GM was talking about slot corners and how important they are to the system and whatever. And he said that they put a little mark by all the Georgia players, or the people that originally are from Georgia, And there's a safety that played at Alabama that's from Georgia, Brian Branch. And they're figuring they're not going to pick him at that spot, so they're more willing to slide down the board so they can pick him.
Okay. So then they would probably pick up a future first round pick from the Vikings or something. And okay.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe just the first round pick next year. And then part 2 is the Minnesota Vikings will trade Kirk Cousins to the New York Jets for 2 seconds and a 4th.
And this is the same prediction. This is all in the same prediction?
Yeah. It's a parlay.
Oh,
parlay.
My God. I mean, your first one's a home run.
You know what would be the ultimate? You thought Declan took a bad beat today. If Brandon had all of this right, except like instead of like a third going to the Jets or whatever, or coming back to the Vikings, it's like a 4th. But he'd probably happily be wrong at that point, I guess.
Yeah.
Good stuff, man. Love the shot here, Brandon.
The Jets
going for the fences.
All right.
All right, Judd. It's your turn to go now.
Okay, I'm going to go right now. Write this down.
Write this down.
Marcus Johansson will score a goal in the Wild's playoff opener. Marcus Johansson will get on the score sheet in the Wild's playoff opener.
All right. Does he have a Wild playoff goal in his previous stop?
No, I think he broke his arm in Game 3 of the Golden Knights series, and I don't recall if he had scored or not. But he went out pretty quickly because he ran into the goalpost and his arm snapped.
Yeah, it was pretty gross.
It was really gross.
Hockey's pretty violent. Not sure if you guys.
It's like football.
You guys knew that.
Ugh.
Yeah, but in football, there's not just like metal poles stuck into the playing surface.
Lewis
You can
Dean's leg
like,
just sort of
fly
snapped
into
in
it.
two.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but imagine I guess the NFL, 50, 60 years ago, the goalposts were on the goal line, and guys would just be running full speed, going to catch a pass or something. A referee might hit the post.
And do you know what that was called back then? Getting your bell rung. No one came out of the game.
No.
That back in my day.
Yeah. Someone needs to check on those guys
Write it
again.
down. You
All
like
right,
writing
Dex.
things down?
All right, I have a couple prediction for the players this weekend. I'll make this first one. So Jason Day had an awful 2022, former #1 player in the world. He had a horrible year, fell all the way out of the top 150. He was ranked as low as 175 at one point last year. But 2023 has been kind. 4 top 10 finishes so far. He's risen from the dead. His putting has been great. I think the trend continues this weekend. Jason Day, write this down, logs another top 10 finish at the Players this weekend. Stacked field, obviously. Everyone's playing in this. So he will log a top 10 finish at the Players this weekend.
Okay.
Write it down. You like writing things
You know what?
down?
I'm going to make a golf prediction too here. We saw this news. Apparently, it says Tiger Woods is in more relationship legal hot water. TMZ reporting that his girlfriend of the last 6 years, who he had signed a non-disclosure agreement in 2017 when they started dating, basically, hey, anything that happens, you can't. I don't know what's all included, but like you can't talk, you can't write a book or talk publicly or whatever about our relationship, right? So she is seeking, and I would assume they're not together anymore. She is seeking to have the NDA thrown out because she wants to share things related to like sexual abuse and some other different harassment type things involving Tiger. This is going to boil over. Now that TMZ is on the case, this thing's going to boil over. So write that down. Tiger Woods will withdraw from the Masters in April. He will not play in the Masters. I think we're headed for a big PR crisis here with Tiger Woods. Write it down.
This could be it, right? Golf wise, like
Probably.
It just feels like this is going to be one bridge too far.
Yep. Or he will, I guess, I don't even know if he's officially entered the Masters. So my prediction is he will not play in the Masters.
Right.
Yes.
Write this down.
Okay. All right. Back to Brandon, your third and final prediction.
My third and final prediction, write that down. If the Minnesota Vikings stay at pick 23, they will select Kalijah Cansey to pair up with Dalvin Tomlinson and Harrison Phillips, as those guys can just clog up the middle and he can actually have an interior pass rush to help them.
Yeah. One of the better interior defensive linemen in the draft. Man, Brandon, great work here. taking your swings here on Write That Down. Is there anyone you'd like to thank in your life that brought you to this pinnacle moment here on Write That Down?
Well, first I got to thank my wife, of course, because she puts up with me and my 4-year-old boy that every night she just asks, okay, who's playing? Because it's either the Timberwolves or the Wild or Vikings, or it doesn't matter who's on. He always wants to watch with me. And then afterwards we have to play that sport also. So, and then of course my dad who brought me into this torment of the Vikings and all the disappointment, but hey, it is what it is.
Yep, exactly. All right, Brandon, great stuff, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you, guys.
Let you get back to work. Get Brandon on again sometime.
I love I love that second prediction. Like, that was a parlay of monumental parlays.
Yeah, that's aggressive, man. So I think the Kirk part of that would probably have to happen first. There's so many weird dominoes here. Yeah. And why did all these teams, like the Falcons, for instance, the Falcons were stumbling all over themselves to give Lamar Jackson $230 million, just like the Browns did, right? What did I say? Deshaun Watson last year.
Watson, yeah.
And immediately yesterday, like, I think it was Diana Rossini reported within like 30 seconds after the franchise tag news came down, and she came out and said, Falcons aren't interested. Okay. What do you mean? Like, so if Lamar, so isn't Lamar's mom technically his representative? So if like Lamar or Lamar's mom, which is a super weird deal, get an agent, dude. You're negotiating a $250 million contract here.
That's what's really weird about this whole thing. I agree.
Get an agent.
Yeah.
You're telling me if they call the Falcons aren't going to take the phone call? Like, the whole thing is just,
I agree,
bizarre.
Very bizarre. I agree.
Anyhow, all right, back to Judd here it's your turn again, Judd, for the third and final prediction.
I'll stay on
It's your turn to go.
Your turn. You want to go? You want to mute your mic? Get some coffee? Keep it up as you go to the bathroom? You know, which one?
I got coffee right here.
Hey,
I got my coffee mug right
Stella. Pop.
I got my coffee mug right here. I wish I could you know what? I wish Stella could get me a cup right now, because I'm out of Joe. In fact, I need to brew more. All right, write this down. Filip Gustavsson will be the Wild starting goaltender in the first game of the playoffs.
Yeah.
So staying on that theme, I think ultimately I think both goaltenders probably get to play, but Gustavsson has just been so spectacular, and he's been awesome. So reliable, and it floors me how good this guy has been. He will start game one.
Does that mean he's guaranteed? Like, if does that guarantee him like a chunk of the series, or is it just a game by game thing? Then if he plays pretty well, he gets game two? How would they go about that?
I think if he plays pretty well, he gets game two. Like, but I think this is going to come down to a lot what we saw in 2003 with Fernandez and Rolly, which is, you know what? If you can keep going, whoever gets hot plays. And if one cools off, because, I mean, they're not going to, I don't think with Fleury it's going to be like he's not going to play unless Gustafsson just continually stands on his head, which is possible. I think that they will look to play them both. And you know what? Their system, and we saw it last night again, I think the Wild had like 40 shots, and Jacob Markstrom of Calgary was unbelievable. Their system calls on their goaltender for the Wild to probably make 5 great saves a game. You know, so if you can make those saves, which is plausible, because it's not a shooting gallery, but Gustafsson again last night made a handful of fantastic saves.
Yeah.
Write this down.
All right, Dex, your final prediction?
All right, I'll make another players one. Of the top 3 players in the world right now, it's John Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy. So write this down. One of those 3 will not make the cut at the players. So between Rahm, Scotty Scheffler, Rory McIlroy, at least one of those 3, the world's top 3 golfers right now, will not make the cut at the players.
That might be a home run.
I think that's a home
run. Those guys are playing their asses off. They're like competing, winning. I think that's a home run.
I would guess if I had to put, if off the record, if one of them has the most I think Rory. I think it would be Rory. I think Rahm and Scotty are absolutely dialed right now. So I would say probably Rory of those 3.
Sometimes Rory spazzes and like shoots a 76 or something.
No.
I mean, I guess Rahm kind of did that last weekend too, but okay.
Write it down. You like writing things
All right,
down.
write this down. I told you I was out of the Timberwolves prediction business, and I lied. I'm going back for the drug here.
Every time. Every time they pull you back in, don't they?
Yep, going back for the drug. So
sickness.
a lot of practice time here. I don't know why they looked like they just. Some of it was they just didn't make shots last night, but that was a weird way to. I was at Target Center last night for that game. That crowd was ready to rumble from the start of that game, just like ready to anything good that was happening. That crowd was popping. It was awesome. And the Wolves just didn't deliver. They just got smacked by the Sixers. But here's my prediction. Write this down. The Wolves will win their next 2 games, and they will get to 3 games above 500 for the first time all year. They're going to beat Brooklyn at home on Friday, and they're going to beat Atlanta in Atlanta on Monday. And they will be 3 games above 500 for the first time all season.
Why do you do this to yourself? Why do you do? You announced with
Masochism.
Royce 2 days ago, I'm out, and I
back in.
respected that. And 2 days, 48 hours after that, you are not only back in, but you're going to a place where you know this team doesn't want to go.
You know, it's so bad that last night, and I got to be careful with how I phrase this. I'll just say that a friend of mine was interested in the second half point totals, a hobbyist, if you will. Okay, and he said,
Fine. Yeah.
he said, what do you think? I kind of feel like the Wolves are going to come back. He said, what do you think? And I said, not only do I agree with you, I think the Sixers are going to be super tired. It's the second half of the second half of a back-to-back. They scored 147 points in Indiana the night before. Like, they're going to run out of gas. So here's if you're interested, here's the number that I would choose if I were you, hobbyist, to keep an eye on. And I was wrong about that. We thought the Sixers were going to hit the under on that number.
And now that person's home is gone because of you.
That's correct. Yep.
They are on the street because of you.
Yep.
Speaking of last night, I got a question. What was this? I saw you in an Ant jersey.
Yeah, it's a long story. I'm not a big, the Mackey and Judd jersey rules.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very important.
It's just, if you're going to wear a jersey as a grown adult, it should be a player that's older than you, or it should be a player it's like a funny jersey of some kind, right? Like if I was wearing a Rasho Nesterovic jersey.
Yep.
Yeah. So and I almost feel like I can't. The suite was sponsored, but we have some conflicting sponsors on SKOR, so I don't want to give love, on this platform, but they had some swag to sort of hand out in the suites, and so we all at one point put our jerseys on, and I violated the Mackey and Judd jersey rule for about 10 minutes last night.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, is this a white Michael B. Jordan? Because it's pulling at the chest. Is it?
Michael B. Jordan.
I was trying to figure out who it was.
Is it pulling at the chest, or are the pectoral muscles pulling at the jersey?
That Ant jersey really enhances old Macadac's physique. Not gonna
Was
lie.
that a medium? Was that a schmedium?
It was just a little bit of a schmedium. It was. Listen, the hooded sweatshirt. The hooded sweatshirt makes it look a little tighter than it needed to be.
Now, did you keep that, or is that just?
I do have it. Yeah. Do you wanna throw it on? See?
No. I was just curious if it was like a swag that you could model.
I think we'll put it. I was thinking we put it up in the SKOR North studio, next to when we have a Carlos Gomez cutout. We could put it over the Carlos Gomez cutout.
Our SKOR North studio is really state of the art new stuff. Anyway, I saw that last night, and I was just curious about it because it did violate our rules.
Yeah, I know.
Rules that we carefully crafted.
I know. I wish, in retrospect, I do wish it would have been like a Stojko Vrankovic jersey or something, or a Dean Garrett jersey. But
oh god,
I love me some Anthony Edwards, but it did violate the Mackey and Judd jersey rules.
Yeah,
Yes,
just
it
about
wasn't ironic.
Just about every way possible. He's 21. You're 35-ish now.
I'm 37. Yeah.
Yeah, 37. He's a star player. So to your point, there's nothing ironic about it.
He's the only guy that showed up for that game too on the Timberwolves side. He hit like 5 3-pointers. I think he scored like 30 or 32 points or something, and the rest of the starters were just sleeping at the wheel. So they had 3 days rest too. Like, what are they doing?
Yep, home game and
such a weird team.
You're right about this. The one thing that has occurred to me at a bunch of games that I've gone to, the crowd is not the problem there. It's a good crowd now.
It is. Think about that crowd, okay? And I get that it's different generations and stuff. It's not the same crowd for 30 years, but that crowd has no reason really to show up, and this team has kind of underwhelmed, and they haven't lived up to they're gonna wind up, coming well short of the regular season, win projections that people had. And they just get clubbed over the head every year by incompetence, bad trades, disappointment, losing seasons, and they still show up I know. And they make noise. It's a pretty, when you think about it, the Timberwolves fan base remaining loyal to that extent is pretty incredible, and they deserve some sort of payoff. And Kyle and I talk about this on Flagrant Howls. At first, at the beginning of the year, we said, on Purple Daily, it's win a championship. It's the only thing that you haven't done as a franchise. At some point, it'd be great to see the Wolves win a championship, but that's such a ridiculous, astronomical bar that we said, can they just win 50 games in the regular season for the 50 wins for the first time in almost 20 years? Mathematically, last night, they have been eliminated from being able to win 50 games. But we've said, okay, what are the reset expectations? What would they need to do from this point forward to get you in the summer to look back and say, you know what? All right, that was kind of a weird way to get there, but I feel okay about this franchise. I think it's winning a playoff series.
Oh yeah, I agree.
Or at least fighting hard and it looks good in 7 games. But I think if you won your first playoff series in 20 years,
yes, I think
you would feel a lot better about the weird winding path that it took you to get there.
Yeah, I think if you go into the first round of the playoffs and compete hard and lose, it's a disappointment.
Yeah, and it's
the
not
expectations were 50 wins and a playoff. If not a run, at least a series.
Yeah, that's kind of the next step. It doesn't matter if they win 43. I was talking to someone with the Wolves yesterday, and they said their internal analytics team is kind of looking at if you can get to 43 or 44 wins, that probably gets you the 6th seed. So, but they'd have to go on a little bit of a run. At some point, they've just been hovering 2 games above or 2 games below the entire season.
I know.
So anyhow, that's the crowd was ready to rock and roll. Old Macadac had his Anthony Edwards jersey on for a few minutes, violating the Mackey and Judd jersey rules. Ready to rumble, man. But you're wild. I mean, hopefully that doesn't send them into a tailspin. That loss last night. Our winter sports teams just limping around.
You know what? If they could just score some damn goals.
Yeah, that'd be important.
I mean, that's the thing. It's fun. I mean, I will say this, for a 0-0 game until the shootout, that was a fun game. There was a ton of action. Both goaltenders were just great. Markstrom for Calgary was absolutely stood on his head.
Yeah, and the Wild they're only 3 points out of the number 1 seed in the Western Conference right now. 2 points out. So, and Dallas and Minnesota played the same number of games. They're 2 points behind Dallas. So it's it's all kind of there for them.
Big game against the Jets in the Peg tonight for the Wild.
The Peg.
The Peg. You're going up to the Peg back to back. I'm guessing the Flower starts, but
the Gus bus is it's
win.
warming up in the parking lot. The Gus bus.
Get on the Gus bus.
All right, that is a wrap on this Write That Down Wednesday episode of Mackie and Joe. We have a little Reckless Speculation Thursday tomorrow for you guys, and over on Purple Daily, we're going to keep our eyes and ears peeled for Vikings news. Who's next? They got to get $16 million off their books in the next week. So we'll see what happens there. We'll see you tomorrow on Maggie and Judd.